All right, welcome everybody to episode 7 of Pseudo Ludo, your favorite video game podcast. This is my favorite. Are you kidding me? No way. It's probably my least favorite of the many.
I listen to this podcast religiously on whatever day it comes out.
That's true, yeah. Well, anyways, our religious listener over here is Nick, and Brian is also in the studio.
I'm the atheist listener. No listens from me.
No faith in
Not
the
even
podcast.
in the edit bay.
We still love him. Let's start off by figuring out what Brian has on his desk today. Why don't we do that?
If you don't know the rules already, Brian will list 3 things that he says that are on his desk. 2 of them are true, 1 is false, and Tim and I have to guess which one is false.
Item number 1 is an Amazon stylus pen. Item number 2, a bag of goldfish. Item number 3, chapstick.
What brand?
Was that not self-explanatory?
Is that a brand? I thought that was just like...
Chapstick's a brand, yeah.
Oh, I thought that was just a name.
Original flavored
Okay.
chapstick.
Gotcha.
Flavored? You eating that?
Hell
You eating
yeah.
that stuff?
What else would I be doing with it?
All right.
I don't know. You're kind of full of nonsense, Brian, and honestly, this one is a pretty hard one to tell the difference. I'm just going to go with the stylus pen. Just going to go with my initial gut there.
I'm going to go with the goldfish because I'm going to guess that he ate them earlier and it's mentioning
Jeez.
it.
That's a good guess, actually.
What are
Wow.
you calling me? Say it out loud. Vampire. All right, are your guesses locked in?
Yeah.
Locked
Wait,
and
what
loaded.
did you say, Murph?
The stylus pen.
Oh, yeah, Big Nick with his first W.
Ugh.
Wow.
And very sound logic. That is exactly why I said that, because I was eating them earlier. And it
Good
was
call.
in contention to be on the desk, and then I found this stupid little stylus pen that I have, and I was like, all right, let's do
How's
this.
that? You get much use out of it?
No, I have an Apple Pencil now, but this was before that.
What did you
like,
use it for? iPad?
Yeah, this was like $3, so I got it was like really cheap, and then I got the Apple Pencil like a chump.
Is the Apple Pencil noticeably
It's
different?
way better,
in
but it's
quality?
also like $80. So
What's better about it? Does it write
it's
better?
like a completely different shape, and this is just like literally like a stylus. The Apple Pencil is like a Bluetooth connects to your thing. This is like a really cheap little thing. You just like there's no features. It's literally just like a piece of plastic that interacts with your touchscreen.
Did either of you hear that background noise there, or was that me?
I didn't hear anything.
That's the
It
ghost.
did literally sound like a ghost.
That's always, honestly, that's been one of my like secret fears. If I've ever like edited
Oh,
and in the background heard some
that'd be
shit.
yeah. Wow,
happening.
I didn't know I was afraid of that, but I am now. Yo, Bri, good luck recording this week. Jeez,
Do you guys watch Ghost Adventures or anything?
no.
I do with Mia, and they do like the EVP, and when they play it back, you hear some stuff, man. So, maybe we got another listener.
I'll take whatever I get.
Hey, yo, as long as they give it a 5-star rating, I don't really care who they are.
This life or the next.
All right, how about we get into what we've been playing this week, Brian? How about you start off?
I've been doing some more Final Fantasy VII. I'm on chapter 17, so I'm pretty close to beating it. And then I also acquired 2 more platinum trophies to even the gap between me and Murph for our platinum trophy, which I did Modern Warfare 2 Remaster and Twin Breaker, the Sacred Symbols game. But
Wait, pause again. Did somebody hear the motorcycle that just went by?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was probably
Okay, I
in my
did.
house. In my house.
the motorcycle.
No, that there's these people that just drive by with dirt bikes like recently. I don't know what that's about. It's like only since the quarantine has started. Like they're trying to send a message.
They're already going into like Days Gone territory. Biker
they like,
gangs.
they were tailgating a guy the other day, like really, really close to his, the end of his car,
Yeah.
the bumper, whatever the fuck that's.
Yeah. So how are the plats?
I don't know. They're fine. Narrowed the gap. The Modern Warfare one ended up not being as annoying as I thought because the trophy Immortal means you have to beat every level without dying. and I was writing them down as I went along, and then I did all of them that I wrote down and didn't get the trophy. So I was like, this is going to be a fucking hassle. But then I had like an epiphany that I should replay the favela level just in case, because there's 2 of them. And I was like, I bet you I wrote down the wrong one, and I did.
Oh.
So it worked. But at first I was like, I'm going to have to beat the game again to get this trophy, because there's no way to track it.
Right.
But yeah, there's one trophy that is so stupid, though. In one of the DC missions, you have to destroy 10 helicopters with the Javelin missiles. But it's in the part, I don't even know if you got to that point, Murph, but it's like in a part where you have to evacuate like right after it. So it's like it's not like you can just wait around for 10 helicopters to spawn. And there's not a bountiful amount of them either. Like there's literally only 10. And you're supposed to get out in a certain amount of time while doing other things. It wasn't like hard, but it was just like a weird... Like there's one that's really, really far to the left. Like it's literally off screen, but you can just see the square, and then you have to like shoot it up through like a hole in the roof. It's very strange. But,
wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
But yeah, another one. You're beating me by 1 now, but after I beat Final Fantasy, I'll have to buckle down.
Yeah, I guess so. Wait, did you get 3 in a row? Because I got Dark Souls. I'm trying to think.
You had Dark Souls, Hotline Miami, and Twin Breaker, and then I got Twin Breaker
I guess
and
so.
COD. We were tied when you got Twin
okay.
Breaker, I think. I might be wrong, but
no, I think you
it's
are
close.
Yeah, it's a close hunt right now. Yeah, so I this week I finally platinumed Dark Souls 2, and that was kind of the major thing I accomplished during the week. Been trying to get that done for a while, so got that off my plate, and I moved right on to Final Fantasy VII. First, I started with the original game, and I played up until basically... I played for a while, let's just say that. I don't want to spoil it. And then I went to the remake and played for... I think I'm on chapter 7 or 8 now. Something like that.
So do you want to save that to talk about later? Or
yeah, we can talk about that. We can get into that as like a bigger discussion later on.
All right,
some other things I got to this week were Rogue Legacy, which is a fun... I think it's one of the earlier modern roguelike games that kind of came into the scene and popularized that genre. And it's really fun. It's good. That's all I have to say about it. I'll probably play it some more. I only played a little bit of it. And then I also played the original Doom, which is really, really fun. I'm actually shocked how good that game still is, because I did not expect it to be that good. Especially on like a PlayStation with a screen as big as it is. I think they must have done some kind of like, I don't know, smoothing the texture or remastering something. It looks pretty good. It's not like visibly like a lot of noise, and it's not like super confusing. It's actually pretty fun to play still. But yeah, what have you been playing, Nick?
I really haven't been playing much. It's pretty good for a video game podcast, but we played Warzone last week for one day. Tim and I, we got a win with our 2 other friends. That felt pretty good. We had a good game that game.
Yeah, you had a good game. You were getting a lot of kills. Carried the team.
Yeah, but team effort. We were all alive at the end.
Except me. I died.
Yeah, but that was Final Circle.
Yeah, that doesn't count. Yep.
And then some Animal Crossing.
Oh yeah. I think we've all been playing that.
Oh yeah, same.
Yeah, you gotta keep up with the dailies.
That, yeah,
that's just like an obligatory at this point that we're playing that.
Yeah.
And we're victim to the capitalist machine that Tom Nook has
I've been playing it less though. Like I've still been playing every day, but it's
I've definitely shortened each play session down.
I'm definitely just doing like the daily kind of stuff. I've done a little bit more here and there, but for the most part, it's just been kind of logging on to do whatever I have to do.
Get your Nook miles.
Yeah.
And dip.
Yeah. And then I played one more dungeon in Link's Awakening. I haven't played that in a while. I had to look up what I did last and what I had to do because I forgot where I was going. But that was just a quick walk around, show me where I had to go, and then did one more dungeon. That game is still really good. I'll probably end up being that next. I think.
Oh, what about the Horizon DLC?
No, it was phenomenal. Better than
Wow, so you really didn't play that yet, did you?
Fuck no, you didn't. Are you kidding me?
No.
This kid.
Because last week on Tuesday, which is the day I normally play a lot, I watched Booksmart and a Tom Segura stand-up.
Booksmart, good movie.
And both are very good.
You get the platinum? Nice.
Yeah. Laughed at
You
it.
have to watch it twice.
That's got to be kind of hard, honestly.
You have to watch it on hard. All right, so there's no news. Murph, you wanna get into it?
Yeah, let's get into it. Let's talk
Nick, this is an intervention. You have to buy Final Fantasy tonight.
Yeah, you do.
That's what the whole purpose of this podcast is.
Was
built. We didn't know it until
I'm
now.
gonna fire up my Switch and
you have to buy that game tonight.
You do.
That's the only reason.
I'm just gonna fire up my Switch and play Link's Awakening while you guys go off about this.
You said fire at the PlayStation Store and start downloading, or what's?
No, I
Nick
can't
just
go
logged
there.
on the podcast to do his dailies. Now he's cashing out. He got his Nook miles.
Gotta collect my Murph miles.
You're gonna listen to everything me and Murph have to say, all right?
Yes, ardently.
Sheesh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Murph. Why don't you kick it off? How do you like the remake?
It's awesome. It is so good. I don't think I've felt like this passionate about a game in a while. Like nothing's really grabbed me in this way in a long time. It's kind of hard to describe. It's got that it's actually very similar to the RE2 remake, where it has that same old game type of nostalgia to it, even though I didn't play this original game until just this year. So it still has that same essence to it. The music is awesome. It's really fantastic. Yeah, so I guess I could talk a little bit of the difference I saw from playing the original versus this, because I played them in the same weekend, so I had a bit of a direct comparison. And you really can see that they did such a great job taking the settings and taking the characters and transplanting it into a 2020 game. And they added so much and so much depth to it, but they also retained that core identity in a really good way, I think. I'm not a passionate Final Fantasy fan or anything, so the actual fans may have different opinions, although I can't imagine anyone would be disappointed with this transformation of the game. I think all the character designs somehow work, even though they're all super over the top and just, I don't know, over the top, I guess, is the best way to describe it. It's interesting how all these, it reminds me a lot of Death Stranding, how there's all these disparate parts to it and this weirdness going on, but it still keeps me engaged in it despite all the, I don't know, over the top displays and the anime tropes and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and a bunch of just random pieces that just get thrown. Especially as you get further, the story is so bizarre, and it really is just they throw everything at the wall, and just it gets kind of confusing as it goes forward.
Yeah,
but I like it still, probably even more than I did last time. I think the further you get, the more entertaining the fighting gets, and I think it's just paced really well. And it's one of those things where the longer you play, the more fun it gets. And I'm very close to the end. Like I said, I was on chapter 17. There's only 18 chapters. And I did not encounter anything that I was worried about where at least, I mean, the big stuff's probably at the end, but I didn't encounter any super, super long or uninteresting boss fights. I think that they've still managed to keep all of that fair and fun, but maintaining a sense of challenge.
That's
but
cool.
It wasn't obnoxious or anything. There was only one thing that was kind of annoying, one boss fight, but it didn't take too long. But it happens after several other encounters that you have to replay the entire thing if you lose, which
yeah,
isn't ideal. But it's not it didn't get to the point where I was worried about it just being super chaotic and repetitive.
Yeah. Yeah, I should probably mention the combat, because I wasn't sure after the demo. I thought it looked amazing, but I wasn't sure if I would actually get into the feel of the combat. And what I did was I played on classic mode. Brian, I think you played on the normal mode, right?
Yeah.
So the classic mode tries to retain that turn-based RPG feel by everything kind of goes on an auto. Basically, the AI plays and then you dish out the commands. And I thought I would use that, and I actually thought it would be more like turn-based, but it's actually not. It's really just like you're watching the computer play for you, and then you put out the commands. So I ended up not really doing that, but if you keep it on that, you can just jump in at any time. So there'll be auto fighting, and then anytime you move a stick or anything, you take control, and then it's back to the normal fighting. So it's actually really cool how they seamlessly switch right there. You don't have to go into a menu or anything. So I've had a lot of fun doing that, because if it's just like some boring encounter with like a bunch of random enemies or whatever, I kind of just let them fight it out, and I'm running around with Cloud and just like bashing it up and looking for secrets around that room and stuff. And then if it's a boss battle or something I need to pay more attention to, I can kind of jump in and do all the manual stuff. It's a really nice balance. I'm really surprised how well they implemented that, because it doesn't seem like something that should work, like combining these turn-based, pausing the game to put out these commands, and then running around and hitting things. It works really, really well, and I would like to see a lot more JRPGs take this kind of route, I think. I think that'd be really interesting. Because if you want, you don't even have to call out the commands or use spells or anything. You can just use your sword for, at least for normal encounters. I know for a lot of bosses you need to hit their weak points with magic and stuff, but...
Yeah, I said that last week, but as you go on, there's definitely more of a strategies you need to cook up.
Yeah.
It's not as, especially with bosses, but yeah, I didn't realize that the classic mode was like that until, because I didn't try it at all. I had just assumed it was just straight up turn-based, but I did see a review where they said that, and I just was meaning to tell you and forgot, but I did not realize it's like that. But you do use that mode still?
I do use it, yeah, and it's nice in that, like, I use it, but I end up just automatically start fighting every time, so I don't really use it. Like, I probably use it 10% of the time, where I just let them fight.
Just if you're fighting like rats or something.
Yeah, it's like it would be good. I could see it for like late game grinding or whatever, if you want to just keep fighting enemies over and over and you're like paying half attention. But I mostly have just been manually controlling the team now. Who do you mostly fight with on your team? Do you just stick with Cloud, or do you switch it around?
No, I'm constantly switching. I have like a total setup going on, and it is weird that you never really have like a main party.
Yeah.
Like, even where I'm at, like, it switches a lot, and you never go beyond 3 people at once, which I found kind of strange, because there'll be times where you're with more than 3 people,
right?
But you can only control whoever they decide that you can control. But yeah, I just have it set up like certain people are healers and certain people are using certain type of magic or whatever, and then bounce around accordingly.
Yeah, I enjoy the materia so far, and I can definitely see how that'll get more complicated once you're linking things up with those elemental materia, stuff like that. It seems like a really cool, well thought out system. I've enjoyed using it so far. It's not overly confusing. It's just been really, like, I would call the combat pretty much perfect. Like, I haven't been bored.
Have either of you had issues with like frame rate dips or anything? Because you both have PS4 Pros,
yeah,
right?
it's no problem for me.
Fine.
Absolutely
There's
no problem.
texture problems, but they're fast and it doesn't really matter. Yeah,
the graphics look great, and then there's just a few areas where it's like a door or something that just doesn't look like it has a good texture, but
there is a ton of hidden load screens though.
Oh yeah, where you go through all the...
It's really weird. Yeah. It's like very significant portions of the game where you're like just walking through like really tight spaces. There's one part where you're climbing through vents that's just like really dumb and like hard to control, but that's like a minor gripe in the scheme of things.
Yeah.
Because everything else,
especially because it's so late
epic
in the generation, that it's kind of understandable at this point that they're pushing the hardware to its limit. You kind of saw that with God of War. I thought that had a lot of noticeable tunnel loading scenes also.
I saw that some people were having issues with the combat, even on a Pro, and I still have the OG PS4.
Yeah,
no, I haven't had any.
I haven't noticed anything. It's been perfect. It's been smooth.
Yeah. There was one section I was playing last night where it was like you were walking through areas that were clearly loading screens, and it would take a few extra seconds before it would let you out. That's like as far as the technical problem as I've come across.
Right.
Like where you could tell like it was supposed to have let you out. already, but you just kind of had to wait around for a little bit for the doors to open. But
yeah, that's not bad. Overall, it's performing really well, and it looks amazing. It's definitely one of the best-looking games on the system, I think, in terms of graphics, but also in terms of just, I think, aesthetic, visual design concepts.
Yeah.
Like, it's very,
The scope.
very strong visuals.
yeah, there's very striking imagery where
Yeah.
you like will look out and just see like the way the world is portrayed is very strong.
Yes, yeah.
I
Yep.
do think a couple gripes that I had was one being that I do think that the side quests for the most part feel out of place and pretty shallow. I didn't do all of them. I got to a point where I would stop, especially because there's just a random chapter where there's like a lot of side quests that are optional, obviously, but the first few chapters, like the way it's structured is, obviously Murph knows, but you play a few kind of linear levels and then it will open up into a town that has side quests that you can do if you want, or you can keep moving forward. But in the areas with the town, traditionally, or I say traditionally, like just in the game, the first few chapters with towns, there'll be maybe 8 to 10 side quests, and then the last one where they give you like a, if you move beyond this point, you can't come back. There's like 20 side quests that pop up. It's just kind of jarring that all of a sudden that's an option. I thought that was weird. But other than to build XP, they seem pretty out of place to me.
Do you guys feel like you have to grind a lot to
No,
Not at all.
No,
be strong enough to
no,
progress?
and the
I was
custom,
worried about that.
the classic mode, it switches it to easy difficulty automatically. So I'm playing on like easy the whole time.
Oh, really? Easy is way too easy. Because
Yeah.
there's like training simulations you can do, and I've heard there's like memes about easy being really easy.
It's super
and
easy.
there's like a VR section where you have to fight something in VR and you just pick the difficulty.
Uh-huh.
And I did it on easy just because I tried it on normal once and failed, and I just didn't want to stick on this one part of the game, and I did easy and it was like ridiculous.
Yeah, I figured if I'm going back for the platinum to play it on hard, I might as well just save all my frustration for that or whatever.
That's like supposed to be significantly harder though.
Yeah.
So it seems like the difficulty curve is very unbalanced.
Very steep. Yeah, not necessarily unbalanced. If normal is just the way it's meant to be played, and then hard is like just challenge mode. I think by the fact that you have to beat the game to unlock it, I think that implies that it's actually going to be pretty hard. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that though, because I do also like setting up the team and having to have a good strategy. Like that would be a lot of fun. Right now, it's mostly just like watching an action movie that you're kind of interacting with. Like nothing's
It is very
super hard.
cinematic.
I haven't even had a character close to dying, but yeah, I just love the cinematics. Like it really feels like watching some awesome show or movie, like where they're just all quipping back and forth and they're all talking to each other. The dialogue is so great. I did want to go back just to the side quests, because in most games I get so distracted from the main quest and I go off and do a bunch of side quests and stuff, and I have this completionist attitude where you would think when it tells you, it warns you when you're about to leave that area, like, okay, you can't come back, but I've actually haven't really done too many side quests. I found myself more wanting to stick with the main story. I don't know, I think I just like the narrative so much I don't really want to pause it and go do a bunch of random stuff. I want to just stick with the story.
Yeah, they're placed really strangely.
And
especially
I've also
the last section.
I've also heard at the end game, like when you beat the game, you can go back on chapter select and do all the side quests. So
Yeah, you can.
I'd rather just get them all out of the way at once when I have chapter select, because I
Some
think
of
you get
I-
extra XP and stuff at the end, stuff that kind of thing.
The first two areas where you can do side quests, I did all of them, and then when I went back, it didn't save my progress for some of them, and then it kicked me back to the first side quest in that area that I was doing, and I was like, I'm not gonna redo all those. Like they were not rewarding enough for me to do that. So then I stopped, and then there's a long stretch of just story-based chapters before you get to another area where there are side quests.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was like, I'll just see how far I can go without having to get this extra XP, and I have not had a problem at all. And now as I'm getting close to the end of the game, it feels almost like people level up faster in the end game. Like not the end game, but leading up to the end game. And I wonder if they like take into account that you didn't do a lot of side quests and like frame it differently, because I was noticing my characters were just leveling up a ton in the last like hour.
Huh.
So
Yeah, I don't know.
but you definitely don't need
This
it.
isn't directly related to this game, but I've definitely found myself not doing side quests now in life, I guess. Because if looking back on like Horizon, I did every side quest, and when I went to do the platinum, I didn't have to go back and do a single one because I had already done them. But now, like, I feel like if I do the side quest, that I'll never get through the game. Like in Red Dead, that's why it took me so long to beat it, because my first however many hours were me just messing around doing side quests and bounties or whatever. I barely progressed the main story, and then when I wanted to beat that, I had to like stop doing side stuff and just focus on the main.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
why
that game's also longer, and the side quests in this game aren't as robust.
Yeah, that's a game where I don't like. In most games, I find myself really enjoying the side content. Like I even liked it in God of War and all those. I liked it in pretty much every open world game too. But it's weird that this game, I feel it's more like an Uncharted or something. It feels more like that to me, where it's way more linear and stuff, and I don't really want to get sidetracked. But I don't know. It's like way more cinematic than just like, I don't know.
Apparently the ending is super controversial, which to original fans. I guess they must change something significant.
Yeah.
But I've seen that a lot, that like people are angry about it, up in arms.
Yeah, I mean, from playing the first bit of both games, it seems clear that they are changing a very significant amount. Yeah.
But I guess it's particularly in the end, so I'm very excited to see what goes down and then compare. Like, I'll have to look up what happens in the original because I didn't play it, so I won't know. But just to compare it and see what the changes are. I think that's cool though, because the other game exists. You know what I mean?
That's what I was actually just thinking about that. I was like, they should, there's a lot of well-known plot points, so if they change those, I think that's cool. As like, it doesn't have to retell the same story. It can be just inspired by it. I don't know.
But I mean, yeah, I'm certainly not in a place to really talk about it with authority, because I have no nostalgia for it. But this is definitely one of my favorite games in a long time.
Yeah.
And I think it probably, all is said and done, will be one of the very best PlayStation 4 games that has come out.
I agree. It's been shockingly good. I haven't felt this way about a game probably since Red Dead 2, to be honest.
Wow, over Death Stranding.
Death Stranding is like in that same tier though. But I think, and who knows, I haven't beat the game yet. I think right now better. I like it more than Death Stranding. But also, they really do accomplish very similar things for me. So it's hard to say. Both of them are great, and they do remind me of each other a lot.
I'm surprised how much I like the combat, because that's usually what I find to be the weakest thing in an RPG. But it's just so fun, to the point where I sometimes get antsy when it's not going on, which is usually the opposite for me, where I usually like the slower parts of games and the cutscenes. And obviously I like all that here, but I have the most fun in the dungeon-esque sections where you're just fighting a lot.
Yeah.
It's just the pace is so good, and it feels just so balanced, and such a good line of being difficult without being frustrating. And it's just... It has a very satisfying loop, and like that inventory management of like maintaining how many items you should have, what kind of material you should have equipped to certain people, upgrading your weapons, all that. And it's just very, very strong.
Yeah.
I'm very surprised how much I like it still, even with each chapter.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on the dungeon part, because usually in games, that's like, especially if we're talking about, I don't know, Skyrim and a lot of old RPGs. Not that Skyrim's an old RPG, but Skyrim and a lot of old RPGs from when I've played. It's like the dungeons are where the progress in the story kind of stops, and like you just have to go and clear the dungeon. Something like in Zelda or whatever. You just go and you clear it, and then you go out, and then there's cutscenes and stuff. And in this, it just feels like it's still part of the game. A lot more like Uncharted. Like, it's not a structured, now I have to go clear this dungeon out, and then I can get to the next part of the story. It's very much like the story is continuing as we go in here. It just feels like I'm playing more of the story. Whereas in the original game, it's much more noticeably a dungeon, because you have the random enemy encounters, so that can be super annoying. And this, I think they've paced the combat out so well. It's almost a drip feed of enemies. Like, you never really get tired. It never really slows down the progress. yeah, it's I think it's really well balanced and well designed all around.
Yeah, and I think in addition to just the pacing of the entire game, of the combat is paced excellently, and also where the combat is placed for the most part.
Yeah.
It's nice that it, even though I'm saying I wish, not that I wish there was more, but I get antsy to have more combat. I do think the way it's structured in general is really smart.
Yeah.
Because they break it up enough that nothing really ever has time to feel stale.
Right.
Which
Exactly.
I think is important in something like this.
Yeah.
And I just think balance is the key word when talking about this, because they just seem to have found a balance in all components of it. Like
Yeah.
even the cheesiness and the goofiness of like the characters and the dialogue will be broken up with genuine like pathos and just drama and it darkness. Like it gets dark.
Definitely.
But then you'll have the cheesy goofiness, and it kind of just reminds me of like a Saturday morning cartoon or something, where you're invested in that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it is silly and it is over the top and it's self-aware in a way.
Right.
And I just think, just pound for pound, it's one of the most rewarding game experiences I've had in quite some time.
Yeah, it really is that design. Like it all comes back down to that design. It's so well designed. Everything is so deliberately placed. The dungeons are actually fun to go and explore. Like I like going and looking for more items. It doesn't feel like a chore. And it also doesn't feel like, okay, here's a small little door to the side. Go in here, get that item, and keep going. You know what I mean? It feels like you do have to be observing your surroundings and paying attention to stuff to find all the secrets in the dungeon. But it also isn't super frustrating that you'd have to look up a guide or you have to do some arbitrary puzzle or something. It's a nice balance of they're not just putting side items right to your side and it's easy to grab and stuff versus making it too frustrating. It's very well designed. I think the whole game is super well designed. It reminds me a lot of Resident Evil 2, how well designed that game is.
But even more so because from what I understand, well, I mean, not even what I understand, it is just a huge blow up of the first 5 hours of the original game.
Oh, yeah.
So it's, in and of itself, it's just so ballsy,
Yeah,
which
definitely.
I just applaud Square for, because it would have just been so easy to just one-to-one remake the other game with good graphics, and it probably would have even been received even better than this game was, because the original game is great, and if they just changed the camera perspectives, polished it up,
Right.
it probably would have gotten 10s across the board.
Yeah.
But they took just the first chunk of the game, expanded it, apparently changed a lot of stuff.
They did.
Introduced a pretty, as far as I know, completely unique battle system, at least in the mainstream. And I just think that this is how developers should be approaching these legacy type games. It's just like, fuck it, like swing.
Yeah.
Make something big, make something risky. And maybe not just for risk's sake, but they clearly had a vision and they weren't afraid to try to pivot within the shadow of this iconic game that, is one of the most important games ever made.
Yeah,
And
well
I think
said. I agree.
That's a very, respectable move.
I agree. Yeah, definitely. They had to kind of redesign a lot of stuff because the original game, unlike Resident Evil 2, a lot more seems like that is still the design of the police station and all that, and they kind of just took that and made it prettier and stuff, and obviously made everything, the combat better. And this, the dungeon, the 8th reactor, I think, and the 5th reactor, are those the first two?
I don't remember the numbers.
I don't know, but those are
sure.
when it's nothing. It's way less complicated. I'm assuming because it's one of the first 3D RPGs. They basically were just trying to wow everyone with the graphics, as opposed to, it's not like exploring an old Zelda dungeon on Ocarina of Time or something. It is nothing like that. It's really just like you're walking through these static images, and both of those dungeons, quote unquote, took probably 5 minutes to walk through. And in this they're full blown up levels with actual design and things to explore and to find. It just seems a lot grander in scope. This is really, really fantastic. Yeah.
Are you aware, in any capacity, of the subsequent areas in the original game? Like aesthetically, what we'll be looking at
the post
after
Midgar? No, I'm not. Yeah, not at all.
'Cause I wonder if it's similar, because I think the world is so cool. That's one thing I feel like it probably is one of those things where if they actually did it, it would end up being hollow. But the world is just so cool. I wish you could explore it a bit more.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is a little bit more, I feel like, connectivity as it goes on, but it is obviously chapter-based, and it's not very open. But the world is just so cool looking.
Yeah. They do a good job of making you feel like there's a big world out there, too.
Yeah,
The
definitely.
scope is
excellent.
huge, yeah.
You feel like a little ant in a giant world full of huge ships and,
Yeah.
the combination of things that look super normal in like juxtaposition with sci-fi anime shit is so weird, but
It's cool.
I dig it.
Yeah, it's super
I can
cool.
get behind it.
Yeah. Like on the ground in your town, it just seems like kind of a regular old, albeit futuristic and run down town. But then when you're up on top, looking down on it from, above, it looks like this crazy Cloud City type thing, but way more cyberpunky than Star Wars. It's amazing visually speaking. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's almost like I almost wish it was the entire game. Like that's how much I'm enjoying it that I am not really looking forward to it ending.
Yeah.
Even though I'm typically somebody that likes shorter games, and I think depending on how long the final chapters are, it will be under 30 hours that I will have put into it.
Yeah.
But this system, and assuming you would go to different environments after Midgar, like they made the full game, I just would be all in on it. Like the systems that play are just so deep and so rewarding. It feels like something I would have loved when I was little, but it's just as fresh and innovative as something I would love now, which doesn't really make sense, but it's how it feels.
Yeah, no, that is probably the only sour part about the game for me right now, is that I know this is only a small fragment of the full story. I want to kind of experience it all at once, but it is cool that obviously when it's all done, it's going to be this very much expanded game, and it'll have covered so much more in depth the original story. So I think that is exciting, but I do wish it was kind of just a Red Dead Redemption 2 length experience just to get it all out at once. But for whatever reason, they weren't able to do that.
I feel like it would have to be like
they would have had. I mean,
than Red Dead. It'd be like
yeah,
150 hours.
It would actually probably be too long, and then obviously having to make that all in one development cycle, it wouldn't be as good as this fragment is. So that's more of a unrealistic desire, is to play it all at once. Because you can tell a lot of work went into it. And I do appreciate that, kind of taking it step by step. I was actually thinking playing this. I have like one theory, I think, as to why these remakes have the potential to be so good, is that you don't have to waste those early years trying to envision like what the game is and what you want to go for and what plot points you want to have and what you want to say with the game. You can kind of skip all that because you have that as a starting point, and now you only have to focus on, okay, how can we take these emotions that people felt and this story and these characters, and how can we make it even cooler now? Like that, it already kind of gives you a leg up because you're already adapting
like
something that is already clearly was amazing and well loved when it came out. It makes it a lot easier for you to kind of just follow the blueprint that you have.
Yeah, definitely. Nick, are you gonna buy it or what?
Maybe when PS5 comes out, so I have something stronger for it.
Crazy.
That's why I haven't got. That's why I didn't get Control, because I'm nervous that my PS4 is gonna explode.
Well, Control just had issues.
That's not as big of a budget and all that.
Yeah,
that was like that had. I had issues with Control, and I have the Pro.
Yeah,
it ran like garbage.
I'm still afraid.
I haven't seen any problems on this, but I
said I'm still afraid, Tim.
Yeah. Backwards compatibility. If it doesn't work, you'll have it when PS5 hits.
Allegedly.
Or I can wait until PS5 when it will probably be on sale.
It'll be on sale in like a month.
Yeah,
if we're being honest.
Yeah.
So I'm just
really weird how that works. No matter how popular a game is, it seems everything goes on sale so fast on the PlayStation Store.
Unless
I have no self-control.
Nintendo game.
Well, they don't go on the PlayStation Store, Murph.
You can still buy like Wii U games for $60 out there.
Yeah, good for them, man. Sticking to their guns.
I don't know how they do that. I don't know how that happens, but it works. So, who's to blame?
All right, do we want to wrap it up? Anyone got anything else they want to add?
No, I think that was a pretty good, nice in-depth discussion.
All right, everyone, be sure to check out check us out on Twitter at Pseudo Ludo Cast. And Brian should have our YouTube channel up and running
This week, the debut.
This week, along with episode 7. All of our episodes should be up there. If you want to contact us for any reason.
Any reason.
Email us at pseudoludopodcast@gmail.com. That's about it for me.
All right. Bye.
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 All right. Stay tuned for next week. We'll see you guys later.
Stay tuned.
You want to do that High School Musical thing, where the incestuous brother and sister